Hey, what's going on, everybody? ChazmaN here. We're back with another episode. What is this, number 40 for the ChatZman podcast? As
OMG.
Yeah, I know we're getting up there. We're old men at this point, right?
I got the gray to prove it.
As always, on screen we have some audio locations and some social media locations there for you. But yeah, I mean, how have you guys been? You guys are out of the basement, attic? I don't remember the lore.
Well, it's been so long since we've met live. I think I've forgotten all the lore at this point. So it's been a while. We haven't had a podcast in what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, yeah, we're postponed by a week. We have a lot of things to touch on, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's getting into my quote unquote busy season, so we'll have to find a different schedule for getting together.
Agreed.
Oh, I guess real quick, I'll throw it out at you, Phoenix. We'll talk about it later, but it might be kind of cool. We never got to touch on Spider-Man. What was it? Into the Spider-Verse or whatever. They said it's coming.
Did you ever watch it?
Well, they said it's coming to Disney next week, or the Disney Plus.
Oh, really?
Or I don't know if Disney Plus, but it's coming to streaming services in a week. So
yeah, I doubt it's Disney Plus. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't even think the first one is on Disney Plus. So I'm curious if it's coming. I don't know where Sony would have their stuff streamed to, because they have a lot of the movie rights for Spider-Man. So
I just saw a commercial them saying it's coming to streaming services, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, maybe if you have time. Well, I doubt it, but see if we can sneak in to talk about it. All right, so Phoenix, you are the one here with all of the video game experiences. Which one you want to talk about first?
I'll quickly talk about Diablo 4 since I think I've mostly said my piece there, but a quick thing I wanted to add. So I have had a little bit of time to wrap up a few games. Diablo 4 in particular, you guys know I've been putzing around with. And my general feelings on the game, I think where we left it last was I was pretty meh on the whole thing. I beat the campaign, got my first character up to like level 50 something, and then my wife wanted to try the seasonal mode, which for the seasonal you have to make a new character, which fair enough.
That's like the
so
end
I've been wanting
game,
to play
kind of.
Kind of like there's end game beyond, just like the campaign, and then you have seasonal stuff, which is kind of like I think battle pass kind of stuff where they have like content that's available for a few months. You got things you can earn and special items, things of that nature. But I guess where I'm going with this is honestly throughout the main game, I was not overly impressed. I mean, I think if you go back and watch our last discussion, I thought Diablo 3 did a lot of stuff better. Diablo 4, like, made the look and feel just wasn't quite jiving with me. I think the bigger issue is I was playing a sorcerer, and he sucks in Diablo 4.
Boy.
I was necromancer.
Like, I never... Yeah, I should have did Necro at the beginning. I had thought about it, but I had always done either wizard or sorcerer in the last game, so I was like, that's my class. I'm going to stick with it. It is just not that fun to play in 4. And I didn't really realize how much of an issue that it was the class. I thought maybe that's how all the classes are. Man, I switched over to the Necromancer. It's a whole new game. Like, I went from barely wanting to get through the story to I'm now playing it pretty much every day. The gameplay is just so much better depending what class you choose. So, I mean, I still think a lot of what I mentioned prior is still true. Like, the aesthetic's still not my favorite. I still think the open world... I don't know. I like the more I want to say linear. That's probably the wrong way to go, but the more curated kind of structure that Diablo 3 had. There's some. I at least say I appreciate what they're doing a little more now. That the gameplay loop is a little more enjoyable. So that's been nice. The seasonal content's been pretty decent. I'm trying to some of the in-game stuff. So I won't go into too much detail, but I would say if you guys did fall off D4, it maybe is because you chose a poor class. Try again, and maybe you'll have a different experience with it. I see Metal shaking his head over there. You just kind of done? You bowed out of Diablo?
Not yet. Don't shoot me down just yet. What ended up happening is I had to finish Zelda. That was much more important.
Way too late.
So, yeah.
What class were you running?
What was it? The what the hell's the demon hunter type that they had there?
Is it Rogue? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's the Rogue. I'm
the
playing
Arrow
right now.
Arrow boy.
Yeah. I've heard that class it can be fun, but it's a challenging class. I guess the class that most people are enjoying are Druid and Necromancer.
I was enjoying Necromancer. I don't know, playing by myself. I was like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, my wife kind of dragged me through it, but I think I've gotten now to the point where I'm invested enough in the character and the way the game is that I don't mind playing by myself a little more. But anyways, I'll leave it at that. I do enjoy the game more. I still don't know if it's quite hitting D3 heights for me. Like, that was kind of a special game, but I think for the time it came out, for who I was playing with, so I don't know if I'll quite capture that again. But 4 it's good with the right class.
There actually was a topic that I was going to add, but I scratched it. Apparently, there's some like patch that they just put out for the game, and apparently people are like saying it's like ruined.
Patch.
Yeah,
They did a bunch of nerf stuff. I think it was like vulnerability and crit stuff, which is whereby I was building their OP meta builds in, and people are now upset because they nerfed it. Which, I mean, fair. I don't think I was nearly that deep into the end game where I cared about any of that stuff, so it didn't really affect me. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, I know people are going back and forth. Like, Diablo doesn't even, or was it Blizzard doesn't even know how to balance their own game. They're terrible game designers. But that's a story that is always going to be the case when people nerf a meta. People aren't happy about it until it shifts and they find a new meta, and then it's the endless cycle of these live service games.
A game doesn't know how to do that. Marvel Snap. So mad I can't get any freaking collector's tokens right now.
Oh, yeah, we gotta bring back our Snap Talk, because I agree, some of those changes they've made recently I've not been a fan of. The Spotlight caches are, I think, kind of iffy.
And you don't earn nearly as
many tokens. Yeah. I won't go too far down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I haven't been a big fan of some of the general patches that have come up across most of the games I've been playing lately.
I started playing this game in December or January. I've been playing this game for like 8 months. That's crazy.
Yeah. I have finally gotten all of the cards up to Series 3. So I guess the main core collection of cards, I finally got them all.
How do you know?
All, the Season 4
in
stuff.
The shop in the far right, it'll be empty? Is that how you know? It'll just say more cards coming soon?
Well, I don't know for that. I know if you sort your cards, like you show in the filter unowned, so it'll show you the cards that you don't have yet. And then if you sort by quality, all the ones you don't own are at the top. So you can kind of see which ones you haven't done yet.
Interesting. Okay, enough about Marvel's Snappy Snap. Phoenix played another game, which I actually got to watch and play for a little bit.
Yeah, so this one was a little more interesting. Do you have any footage of this up or anything you can show?
I actually
It's okay if you don't.
No, I do. Luckily, I do. Go ahead.
While you're pulling that, Metal, have you heard or seen anything about this game, Viewfinder?
I have not.
So I watched Let's Player play like 15 minutes of it. But it's trippy. It's a puzzle game, but with a pretty unique twist. I don't know if you can see the gameplay there, but essentially you get a photo, and there's some levels where you take the photo of yourself, and you can take it of any portion of the level you want, or the game will give you pictures, and then you kind of like pin it or activate it into the world, and whatever that photo was, that environment becomes real, and then you can interact with it, and it literally cuts out segments of the old landscape and geometry and places this new geometry in there, and you can twist it and turn it, and you can make platforms and access things you couldn't before. It's pretty cool, pretty trippy. A lot of people are comparing it to Portal. I don't think it's quite Portal level, but it's got that kind of unique gimmick.
I think it's just because it's got the
Portal kind of attributed to,
like the single dot reticle in the middle, and I remember seeing some of when the falling animations kind of look Portal-y, but that's about it. I don't think.
Maybe. I mean, I think it's really just kind of people are hitting on it because Portal was a fairly unique puzzle mechanic at the time.
It was an indie game too. Portals. It almost started off as, except other than it being made by Valve, but I don't know if you can call it.
I think it was like a college game, not game jam. But
so
it was
a
college
an indie
team
game,
that had made it.
Okay.
Well, kind of. I mean, I don't remember the whole back end. I just remember there being like some college students who were working on a project, and Valve kind of soaked them up before they had a chance to release it on their own. Anyways, Viewfinder, really cool. I don't really want to go in and spoil anything. It's not a real long game. It's not a very expensive game. I want to say it's like $25 or something on the PS5 store. So it maybe took me 3 to 4 hours maybe to do the whole thing. I didn't find a lot of the puzzles real complicated over time. So if you're looking for like a really kind of complicated kind of like brain busting kind of puzzle situation, this probably isn't going to be it. But the puzzles are fun. They do have some pretty unique ones. The way they kind of utilize that photo mechanic is interesting at the very least. But I do feel like towards the end, it starts to run out of gas a little bit. So the nice thing is it's not a real long game. Doesn't overstay its welcome. You should definitely check it out, though. I don't think it's going to be quite as memorable as something like Portal. But part of what makes Portal is not just the puzzles. It's everything else around it, right?
Yeah, the story.
GLaDOS and the story and Aperture and all that. This game tries to add a bit of narrative to it. it's a little heavy-handed in places, and sometimes not even like portrayed clearly enough. So the narrative's kind of, in my opinion, superficial. I mean, it's interesting enough, I suppose, if you want a little bit of something to kind of pull you through the stories beyond just the puzzles, but that's not the main draw to this game. It's checking out the puzzle mechanic or with the photos. But I'd honestly say the first hour is the best part, where you're learning the mechanics. They give you some really cool ways to interact with it. Like, instead of like taking a snapshot of the world, they give you like drawings, and the drawings are all in different art styles, and you can use those to make new geometry. And I thought that was pretty cool. Honestly, what I got more out of this, I think, Metal, if you play it, you'll probably get this feel, is less the puzzles and whatnot. I was thinking from a gameplay mechanic standpoint, how they're doing some of this stuff. They utilize Unity, which I know is an engine that me and Metal have a fair amount of familiarity with. So the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, how are they subtracting this mesh? Are they using like some kind of like geometry subtraction and stuff like that? So what I liked about this game is I kind of put my game dev hat on for a little bit. I could kind of run through and figure out how they were doing certain things, and that was fun for me. More so, I think, even than doing the puzzles. So I'd recommend it, at least to Metal, for that reason. Chaz, I know you watched some of it. I don't know if you would
totally
go
play
through
it
and play the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not all that long. And I said the puzzles aren't super complicated because towards the end it lets you kind of do whatever you want with the puzzles or solve them in so many different ways. I know sometimes that can be more complicated. I found it overly easy at a certain point, but either way, I'll leave it there. So cool game. I do recommend it. It's not super expensive, not super long. So if you got an afternoon, check it out.
Okay. Cool. So let's see. Next up, we have our highlights from the Horde. Now, you guys did both have items, correct, for this week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't. We had a ComicCon topic, but I figured we all kind of figured. I don't know. It's a little old, a little dated at this point. We're a week or two removed from ComicCon, but I did feel it might be kind of fun just to, I don't know, find some sort of comic or manga, anything comic book related for us to kind of show off. So let me switch over. Okay, and who wants, or I guess I should say, highlights from the Horde is just, I don't know, it's this thing we came up with where, I don't know, we kind of show some interesting or, I don't know, cool or weird, nerdy item that we have and just talk about it, what it means to us, and any other facts or factoids, whatever. So, I don't know, who wants to go first? Me? I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, what I do?
I feel like I always end up going first, so I'll go last on this one.
I feel like I always end up going first.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. So, I've actually never read this one, but I have it in my collection. I'm a huge Batman fan, so when I found this, I think Phoenix might have been there. I think I got this at, might have been at Goodwill, when Goodwill was cool. I think there was just a box of comics. But I actually have, this is one of the more...
remember that trip.
More popular one is Batman, or The Breaking of Batman. It's like a Bane story, which I know in terms of the Batman stuff, this is one of the more popular comics that he has. But I've actually never read it, but I know it's, very popular, very, very notable for, I'm assuming, right? It was like the first time Batman had been defeated, or he had almost like been killed, basically, by Bane.
I couldn't say. I don't know if it's the first time. I know it was a big moment. I know that's what they tried to emulate, and was it Dark Knight Rises? Which I don't think panned out nearly as well. But it's definitely a cool comic book moment.
I just love the artwork. I mean, that's part of the best thing about comics. I think is the artwork so neat.
Is it sealed or just sleeved, or like have you opened it up? Or
I think it's been resealed. You can see some like tape.
All right, so it's just a sleeve.
I never opened it myself, but someone may have just resealed it or something. But definitely cool. I looked it up. Apparently, a regular copy only goes for I think it was like $20 or $15. But if you have it sealed and like graded, this goes for like thousands. But if you have like a pristine, never opened, perfect copy.
Yeah, that's the thing about comics. Like, condition is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've got some decent, I think, like versions or editions of things or issues, however you want to say them, but quality is fine at best, so none of them are worth anything. It's just so tricky to get any money out of comics unless you've really been taking care of stuff.
And that's crazy now, thinking about like going into a Goodwill and finding a box of comics or video games or something that's like Goodwill, it's fallen. How far?
Oh, that's a topic we need to have at some point. The fall of Goodwill, at least for like game and like nerd collectibles.
I would be down to like
fallen off.
Do like a study on it.
I don't know if it is a study, but it is certainly changed a lot, and really even just the past year. But I mean, since COVID, it's been changing a lot and kind of not becoming quite the hot spot for finding collectibles like it used to be. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, who's up?
I guess I'll go.
It's metal.
Yeah, I guess so. I just realized I had like a
He's
second item in front of my face that I can show really quick.
He's a weeb. He's gonna show anime something.
Maybe. Well, maybe. So I got this from a friend of mine, and he gave me 2 of these. They're hard copies of Trigon books.
Ooh,
oh, nice.
I thought that was really cool. So it's just number 1 and 2, nothing crazy, and they're in English, unfortunately. But
those are cool.
It's still it's still left to right, so that's always a really cool situation. So
Trigon, I definitely want to cover in my anime series at some point.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I thought it was really cool. So, thanks, buddy. Sweet. And then but I had this in the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh yeah. So this is this I used to rock this on my shows, and I used to rock this bad boy.
Oh, Dr. Slump. Oh yeah. Is it Dr. Slump or what is it, Mr. Slump?
Dr. Slump.
Dr. Slump.
I was a huge fan of the comics, which I do have a couple. I do have a couple of Dr. Slump comics, and I also have some DVDs that's in Chinese. I cannot watch it because I wouldn't know what the hell's going on. But I got this bad boy, and I was like, yeah, this thing's awesome. I think I have a couple of pictures of me using it.
I guess if you guys don't know, I mean, I would assume Dr. Slump's not super relevant anymore, but like, if you don't know, that was Akira Toriyama's original manga he made before Dragon Ball. That was like his big thing that like turned him into like a mega star over there.
They brought it back a little bit in Dragon Ball Super. They had a couple of filler episodes that tied in some crossover Dr. Slump stuff, which I thought was pretty cool.
There's also some of my favorite episodes in OG Dragon Ball too. I think that is the General Blue saga. Like General Blue somehow falls into their town, and he just like
so you see like Arale and him and her and Goku like see each other.
That's so good. I love Dragon Ball. So cool.
Cool.
All right. So it's on me now.
Yep.
You're the only. You guys have actually already seen this, but it's the most recent comic thing I had that I could think of. So you guys know I did my Seattle trip not too long ago. Yeah, I don't know how well this is gonna show.
Oh, Captain Seattle.
These crazy. Where's the camera? This way. Yeah. Captain Seattle.
And his beautiful Indian companion Raindrop.
Yeah, this is just so.
I'm assuming that's like satire.
It's like a weird knockoff Batman with like the kind of base outfit. I think he's got those weird like I don't know the high arm cut off there, and the Aquaman like shorts, like the umbrella. I don't know. I just got a big trip out of that.
Is it like puke green?
I just love that it says the Indian companion. Like,
the Indian companion.
That kills me. Oh my god.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool from like, just a historical standpoint up there, because it does tie a lot of things about the city in there. But his freaking logo on his shirt's an umbrella with Seattle written across it. It's just nonsense there. I saw this and I don't know. I couldn't leave without a couple of these guys. So that's it. That's a short.
Beautiful.
Okay, so yeah, that is our highlights from the Horde for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on. So we have a lot to talk about in speedrun news this week because we've been gone for so long. Let me move us over. I finally added a little, I don't know if you see our high score on the bottom left there. Yeah, but
over how many topics we've done.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, this is just I don't know, our way of trying to like cover as many topics in gaming as possible. So what do we have? We have okay. Well, if we're able to touch on all these, we will have a new high score. So I don't know. No pressure. Alrighty. So let me bring up my notes. Where were we at? Okay. I totally forgot I had us in a different. Okay. I'm gonna go off of this. So let me start the timer. Here we go. And 3, and 2, and 1. Here we go. Moving back. Okay, so basically, this started off as one topic, and then, because it started off as more of a rumor, and now, as of late, I guess it's been realized that it's kind of might be more real than not. Let me actually so you guys can see. So, Nintendo's next-gen console is slowly coming into focus. So pretty much what has happened is that it turns out that the next Switch is kind of being slated for 2024. I'm trying to remember. I remember there were some features that they're moving away from the OLED. It's going to become an LCD. Gosh, I forget where this news came from. It says a Nikkei Asia reporting from May. I don't even know what that is. Shoot, I'm doing a terrible job. But basically, it's just they're saying it's going to be out sometime next year. I think they said like around the middle. So what do you guys
I don't
think?
think it'll be middle.
kinda
It'll
crazy.
be fall. Like no console releases in the middle. It'll be
Yeah,
a
it'll probably
November
be
release.
December release easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's kind of
about
crazy. Why?
time.
I guess, but then it's like so quiet. Like, and I'm not saying that that's not something that they normally would do anyway. But then at the same time, it's like, well, they never mentioned anything about it either. So, everyone
Well,
else
I mean,
likes to blurt
so
about it.
yeah, so this is of course still rumor mill territory. But everybody knows the Switch 2 is coming out. Like the Switch is, man, it's
5 years
barely
old now?
hanging
What
on.
is it?
I think it's what six
6?
to 7. It's a little over 6 years because it
Yeah.
came out like a week before my daughter was born. So yeah, and although that's not like the longest time for a console life cycle, for the Switch, it already had aging hardware like when it came out, and the most recent games that have come out for it, although they work, they don't work great. I mean, you're not getting 60 frames out of anything. So we've needed a new console for a long time. I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, this could be accurate. It could be a little beyond that, but I mean, why wait at this point? They need to have that new console, I think, to stay somewhat, I don't want to say competitive because they have kind of a niche in this market, but they're going to start, I think, hurting themselves, shooting themselves in the foot for like newer releases that come out beyond first party stuff. Like they're going to be getting a lot of watered down multiplayer ports if they don't really start stepping up the game and get some more powerful hardware. So I am a little sad to hear that they're potentially dropping the OLED. I mean, I'm sure they're doing that for cost. LED is going to be cheaper if you're mass producing this because, cost on the new consoles are always a little higher. But I'll tell you, people are going to have a hard time going from the current Switch OLED to whatever the Switch 2 regular LED is going to be. So
I hear the OLED looks fantastic. Like it looks so good.
yeah,
So it kind of sucks that they're gonna drop something like that if they really are.
And I think
it's one of those things that you don't realize how big of an impact it has till you play it. Like I still play my regular Switch, my OG one
I'm
from
in the same
release,
boat.
and it's
Mhm.
fine. Until I hold an OLED, I'm like, ooh. And if I've been playing that, like if I did buy an OLED, that's what I've been playing for the past year or so before this release, I'm gonna be pretty peeved to go back to a lesser display, especially if it is gonna be, similar form factor, handheld kind of thing. That's gonna feel like a downgrade in some ways.
And the only
Almost
other
like the 3DS, like going into a 3DS XL, and then it's like, oh man, the small one looks great, and then the big one looks like garbage.
no,
Yeah.
I mean the only other news is that they're saying the form factor is going to be exactly the same. It's going to be some sort of handheld that can also be utilized on a large monitor, pretty much.
Yeah, I know there are some people who are claiming that, Nintendo is going to do a Nintendo, right? They always try something new and gimmicky and weird. Like the Wii was weird, the Wii U was weird, the Switch was a new thing, but I don't feel like they can really get away from this model. Like they have kind of struck gold with what the Switch is. I mean, refining that, I feel like is their best option. Like what would you add or change gimmick wise that's going to benefit
I feel
benefit?
like innovating and doing gimmicks like that is best done when you're on top, and Nintendo has not been on top. Like it's still a big company and it's doing well. It's always done well. But
Yes
I mean,
and no. So they're not competing PS5, but to say they're not close to on top, like they're winning out a completely different market too in some ways. So I don't think they feel like they are doing poorly. Like some of their game sales for certain games, they may not have the most units sold, but they have, I think, more software sold than anybody.
I just mean it's easier to innovate when you're in a good position. If they were trying to like, I don't know, if they tried something super drastic, I don't know what I'm saying.
I almost disagree. Like if you're on top, you stick with what works. I think when Nintendo has tried to innovate, that's when you got the Wii U. Because the Wii was on top, right? So their next step was to innovate. That didn't turn out so well for them. But I guess my other point is they've been moving towards this Switch now for a while. The Wii U was like the baby step towards the Switch, right? Especially now that they've killed off their other, handheld market. There's no more 3DS or anything like that. It is the Switch. So I don't think they're going to get away from that format. I don't think they really can. Now, what I am very curious to see, and I think they'd be crazy if they don't do it, will this console be backwards compatible with current Switch games? I feel like it really needs to be, but there's no guarantee it will be. I mean, technically, the Switch was not compatible with the Wii U stuff for obvious reasons. But then again, the Wii U was compatible with the Wii, and the Wii was compatible with the GameCube. So it's not like there's not a track record for it. But
Okay, so I'm going to move us on to our next topic. Let's see. So next topic is something I'm super excited for, but basically it looks like Final Fantasy 14 online, or what is it called? A Realm Reborn. Is that basically the name? Pretty much they're saying that's going to come to Xbox. It says online coming to Xbox Series X and S in spring 2024. Super exciting for me. Had fun playing with you guys on this game.
It took so long for that game to get on that system. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that game's already what, almost 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like easily, like not including before Realm Reborn. So that's different. That's a different topic in its own. But I'm surprised they're even pulling it out now. Good for them, I guess. That's great. That's another whole market right there.
Now,
that MMO is still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Now the big question, I'm assuming this, because this is Square Enix, this is not going to be on Game Pass. So this is probably going to be buy the game and then you have to pay monthly for it, like normal.
Yeah, Square Enix has its own ecosystem. Like if you pay for the PlayStation 4 version or whatever it may be, you're going to be going onto Mog Station and paying them for their monthly stuff. So that's you're not getting on. That's not Game Pass.
I'll tell you, like, at least because I played it on the PS4 for a little bit. It's never hard or expensive to get the game itself for the console. I think I got my copies for like $5 or $6, like new after a while. So it's not gonna be like it's a big upfront cost. It's the monthly subscription. So they might even go. I don't know if they have done this yet. I haven't paid attention to a subsidized or closer to free to pay kind of entry model, and then like no upfront pay and then subscription from there. But they could go that route. Not saying they will, but I think this is good for the Xbox community. They've been really kind of lacking Final Fantasy games for a while. Like 15 was the last one they had. 16 they got shunned. Final Fantasy 7 Remake they got shunned. So it's good to have some FF back on Xbox. I don't know if I'm gonna play it though. I mean, I really liked 14, but
I'm totally gonna play it. I'm excited.
So I played it.
So you guys still sitting down?
My guy's still sitting down fishing, at least in my headcanon. So like I played when they had that one free month. Because when I was playing this game, I was super cheap. I'm not playing for a long time.
I remember I maxed out a character. I maxed out a character in 1 month because of that.
Yeah, that's what we did. We all went through, we played with each other, did our 30-day, I mean, we didn't max out, but we beat the story. It kind of got to...
Well, we got to max level
50.
Kind of
max level,
there. Yeah, and we didn't go through and then do all the in-game stuff, but I got to the end, I felt satisfied with it, and then I decided my character is going to retire, and he's going to fish by the docks. So I took him out, bought him a fishing pole, set him by the docks, then turned off the game. So I almost feel like I'll be breaking my headcanon a little bit if I ever hop back into it. Not saying that there's not reason to, but I feel like I'm in a good place for 14. I don't feel like I need to hop back into it and also give away my life or get into another MMO. So I'm let my guy to stay there in perpetuity.
I feel the same way. Like I want to not go back. Like I don't mind it, but I don't think it's gonna be a good idea. I think I left mine in one of the towns in a little circle thing, just to gain experience, just to kind of sit there and gain experience. And it's like I think I'm done. Like that was it.
You guys are
$15 sometimes when you get to a point in a game, especially like that I don't know, it kind of ends in a special way, and it's kind of this special moment. Like I don't know, going back and revisiting that game, I don't think is going to do me any favors for it. It's not going to make me like it more or less. I mean, I'm happy just letting that game kind of live as a little time capsule of when I played it.
You guys are like Frodo after destroying the One Ring. He couldn't go back to normal life.
I'm gonna guarantee you if we ever go back for whatever reason, it's gonna be so archaic. Get the hell out of here. I don't know. That's how I feel.
That's the thing too. There was so much that's happened. Like I think when we stopped, there had only been like maybe one expansion, maybe two at the time. So I mean, there was enough to kind of understand what was going on. There has been like 4 or 5 since we've touched then. I just don't know if I have it in me to figure out all those new systems and get sucked into it. I think I'm ready to let that game go. Although I know it's an excellent game, and anybody on Xbox who hasn't played it and is interested, you're going to have a great time with it.
That's good. Just get ready to get a bunch of people who have been playing the game for such a long time push you through a story, because that's what they're going to do. They're not going to make you watch a story. So, bye. Good luck.
Okay, so I'm going to push us on into the next topic. We have here, get out of here, ad. It looks like recently by what's his name? I just saw, a Gustavo Santaolalla. Gustavo Santaolalla.
Yeah, that's the guy who wrote the theme song.
Yeah, so basically he was interviewed recently, and he basically gave away that, I guess they're in secret, a new version of, what is it, The Last of Us Part 2 is being worked on secretly by Naughty Dog. I don't know.
Is that a surprise, really?
Not really.
How unnecessary.
It's just like...
I mean, okay, so it's a bit of a cash grab, sure, because the PS4 version plays just fine, especially if you play on upgraded hardware. But I think we all saw this coming, right? I mean, the show is going to be entering season 2 here pretty soon.
Yeah.
The PS5 is starting to get a larger install base, and it's like,
it's just kind
let's
of
get more free money.
It's just kind of similar to the NetherRealm thing, where it's like, is that really how you want your game announced? By, I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Oh, how it came out? Sure.
Yeah, NetherRealm with the stock CEOs talking about, yeah, we're working on this. Give us money.
Yeah, on the other side of things, though, like, when or for who is that going to be a big announcement for? Like, we're not
in game announcement season other than Gamescom.
Well, even if it was, like, if Sony came out on their next big event, they're like, and here's our big announcement: Last of Us Part 2 is being re-released. Like, I'm almost happier that it's leaked now and that news is just kind of done and out there, because that's not hype worthy or excitement worthy. Everybody's gonna be like, yeah.
Honestly, the more interesting conversation is whether that game not deserves, but like, does it need a remaster, considering it's 3 years old, 4 years old?
No, but what it's getting at is I don't remember exactly how it played on max settings on the PS4. Like, I know it came out towards the almost at the end of that generation, good looking game. But yeah, but did it run at 4K? Did it run at 4K 60? Like, we have kind of over the past 5 to 6 years, I think, really transitioned where a majority, I don't want to say majority, but a lot more people are 4K ready. They've got systems now that can really handle 4K. So getting it on a system that can really handle it and give it a little more fidelity, it's not a terrible idea. It's not because it's going to cost them much to do. Like, they're not going to run through and really remake that game. It's going to be a bump up in some performance, probably. It's going to upgrade some sliders so you can get better resolution and frame rate and all that good stuff. It should be an easy push, I think, is more the thing. And there's a lot of people who are just buying a PS5, maybe just played The Last of Us Part 1 on PS5, and now they're wanting the Part 2 because of the show. So it makes a lot of sense. Is it needed? No. Is it terrible? Not really. It's fine.
Okay, we got 2 more topics left, so I think technically if we're able to cover these, that doesn't break our record, but it ties it. So it seems like, let me switch over again. Seems as though the creator of Cowboy Bebop is coming up with a new anime. Exciting, huh? I think all 3 of us are huge Cowboy Bebop fans. Says here, according to a new report from Variety, Adult Swim has ordered a new anime series for Toonami by Shinichiro Watanabe, the legendary director of Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and the studio MAPPA. I actually don't know what MAPPA is. I'm guessing that's the studio that just comes up with those anime. But yeah, what do you guys think? Excited? I'm excited.
That's cool. I mean, it's a new anime. That's awesome, I guess.
Yeah, I think until I see anything about the anime, it's hard for you to decide. Because I mean, I've had plenty of anime creators where I've loved one of their anime, and then like a follow-up I've been a little, less excited for whatever reason. So I don't doubt that the creator could put out another, all-time great, but it's yet to be seen. So Cowboy Bebop is definitely one of my, probably top 5 anime. So there's a lot in there. I'll tell you though, I'm just so hesitant just because of the recent Cowboy Bebop fiasco the live series was. I know this is not the same thing, but I don't know, anything kind of correlating to Cowboy Bebop just has me worried. So I don't know.
Fair enough. Yep. All right. Well, technically we're out of time, but tell you what, since we're doing so good on time, I at least want to bring up the last topic. This doesn't go towards our record. We didn't make 5 technically, but okay. So technically, the last topic. I just think this one's super interesting. basically Ubisoft, I guess there were internal developments. They were like beginning the process of developing. I don't know if you guys remember that game Immortals Phoenix Rising. It was that what is it, Breath of the Wild clone that a lot of people were calling it. But apparently the game, like critical wise, I think from what I understand, did fairly well. But in terms of commercial success, it did not like sell super well. So unfortunately, it looks like I think I remember I remember, but basically, I think they said that they wanted to shift their attention or their development time away from that game because of its non-commercial success, and they wanted to move that over to their more mainline franchises like Assassin's Creed, of course. So a lot of people have been talking about this simply because it's like so disappointing for like I mean, yeah, the commercial success I guess plays a part, but it's like you have like this new interesting franchise, but this big company, but they decide to shift away from that and put all of their time and effort into Assassin's Creed, this timeless, you know what I mean? It's just like but we all know what we're getting from Call of Duty, but it's a dependable source of income for them, so it's like,
you know what it might be, and I have not checked any sales numbers here, so I could be a little off base, because the story of this kind of sounds familiar, like that Mario and Rabbids game. Like the first one, critics loved. I don't think it sold really well. I could be wrong. I know they sold a lot of copies over time when they dropped the price down to like nothing, and then they just released their sequel recently. I don't think that sequel has done well. So what I'm getting at here is Ubisoft kind of went in, invested in a game that already was probably not a huge financial success for them, but it probably, gave it the benefit of the doubt. It was a Nintendo property, so I'm sure that helped, but they just showed that they invested in the second property. It may not have paid off for them. I said, I'm kind of assuming here because I haven't looked at any hard sales numbers, but from just the general reception I've seen about that game, and I've already seen it on sale everywhere, makes me think it's not selling like hotcakes. This seems like a similar situation, right? Where the first game came out, people really liked it, didn't sell well, and now they don't really want to take the risk on investing in another, sequel.
Well, I did want to throw in.
It didn't pan out for them before.
I just want to throw in that apparently Phoenix Rising did sell well, just not immediately. Apparently, when the game began to be put on sale and it got dropped to $30, $20, apparently the game, they said, I don't remember, I don't have the numbers in front of me where I just heard that basically, but apparently, like, in terms of when the game was put on sale, it made decent money. It just didn't make that like.
Well, do we know it made different money? It sold a lot of units. Did it make back enough money?
Probably not.
Like it started selling a lot once it got cheap.
Yeah, cutting the profits in half sucks. Like that's not what they want. They want to sell that thing for $60, not $20.
Yeah, like if they sold 3 million copies at $60, great. If they sold 3 million copies at $10 to $15, which I saw that game I think under $10 retail several times. It's not nearly as great, and of course it's going to sell better at that. I mean, people are far more willing to buy a $10 game than a $60 game, especially for an unknown IP. So I get why they did it. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I mean, I didn't play the game. I've been meaning to for a long time, but I know a lot of people have enjoyed it. And it looks like a game that has, some cool stuff to it. So it's a shame to know that a potential sequel is not going to happen, but I get it. Unfortunately, it's probably not the smartest business move. And at the end of the day, these are all businesses more than anything else. None of them are doing this for goodwill.
And I know a lot of people have been criticizing Ubisoft mainly because I remember I heard somewhere on a different podcast, but it came out that Ubisoft said that they have something like 2,800 in-studio developers working on Assassin's Creed games, and it's like 2,800 working on just Assassin's Creed. It's like.
That's probably one of their biggest money makers, like that and Far Cry. Like those are the big ones. I don't know. Ubisoft's in an interesting spot. This is a bigger conversation, but they've had a lot of controversy over the years. I think they've had some big bombs kind of come out with some of their games. They had the whole Quartz NFT thing, so they've not exactly been riding high for the past few years. So they're probably trying to slim down.
I'm still waiting on Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'm never gonna.
And
get
you're gonna be. For the rest of your life.
Skull and Bones.
So, I don't know.
I don't know if you heard, but they pushed that back they said they pushed it back until the fiscal year of next year, they said fiscal year this year, but technically that bleeds into 2024. So it's like.
Yeah. And then they're also putting out the Black Flag remaster, which is basically the whole inspiration for Skull and Bones. Like, Ubisoft's doing some weird things over there. Like, they can make some really good games. Like, I know people are very tired of their formulaic structure of their games, but they make some quality stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of a shame to see them kind of wavering here with certain stuff, but I don't know. As I said, Ubisoft and their situation is a bigger topic for another day. I am sad, though, that this game isn't going to get a sequel.
And I just really want to bring up one more thing. I remember the main reason why I brought up the 2,800 people working on Assassin's Creed is because it like, I think immediately after that came out, that people found out how much people are working on that. Basically, FromSoft essentially came out and said that they have 500 people working on the next Armored Core game, and it's like 500.
Jeez.
I mean, I get it, even though Assassin's Creed
These studios are big,
but 500 versus almost 3,000. It's like, this is a AAA studio putting out like Game of the Year titles. You know what I mean? And they only have 500. It's like, I don't know if it's mismanagement
it's hard to say.
No, granted, that doesn't mean I want people to get fired at Ubisoft. Not at all. I mean, obviously I don't, but I don't know if it's.
Well, when you say they're working on Assassin's Creed,
it might be across.
20...
It might be across all of the 5 games.
Like, Assassin's Creed is more than one game.
Yeah.
Like, Mirage is coming out. They have some other game coming out. They have their Assassin's Creed hub thing. They have a bunch of spin-off. Like, Assassin's Creed is like a whole. Well, I don't even have the right word.
Those
for
games
it,
get
but
copy and pasted.
Ecosystem.
the whole game's just a big Control C.
It's
Control
just
V.
control. It's just
Yeah.
copy paste those titles.
I'm not saying there's not bloat there, but there's a lot more, I think, going on with Assassin's Creed than, say, Armored Core. But I'm sure there's fluff, too.
Again, I don't want any of those people to lose their jobs. That's not what I mean. I just mean, I don't know. It's interesting.
I think it'd be interesting to see a breakdown, like, out of those 2,800, how many are developers? How many are marketers or advertisers? Like, what are all the different positions that are there? And what are other projects they're actually working on? Like, is it, like, more majority is on a single game, whatever the next gen, whatever Assassin's Creed is? Or are they spread across on all these other side projects? As I said, not saying there's no bloat, but I think you need to look at the numbers a little more
I know
closely.
we're done with this topic, but I also read that apparently Ubisoft is incredibly disappointed with how Just Dance, the recently released title, was selling, and it's like,
I wonder why.
Well, maybe they'll finally stop.
like, I wonder why Just Dance. What is that, like the 20th game on that's been on every
that
console?
had been selling really good for a very long time.
It had to have.
So
I mean, my wife likes that game. She'll always play it. So I don't know.
all right, that's enough
Yeah,
Ubisoft
I know.
chit chat.
I just thought it was. I was having a goof, having a gaff. Okay, so this is taking us to our final topic, our major topic. This is the last time. This is it. No more Zelda talk after this. This is the Zelda talks of all Zelda talks. So, Gamer finally got to finish the game.
Yes,
And-
I did. Yes, I did.
Is it the greatest
It took me a
game
while.
ever?
It took me a while.
It took so long, I've already forgotten how it ended.
Yeah, it took me a while. And the only reason why is because I kept running from one thing to another, and then it just kept kind of pissed me off that I had to go to the dungeon.
It ended with Link saving Peach from Bowser's Castle.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally. So yeah, like after everything was said and done, I was like, well, that was kind of interesting. So I guess first and foremost, I guess I could say I like it better than the Breath of the Wild ending.
Interesting.
I think it's better. I think fighting Ganon was more fun, in my opinion.
I can agree with that,
Mm.
definitely.
Obviously, whoever's watching this, there's going to be spoilers. So, but I think the first couple of armies were interesting. I'm surprised they didn't pull out anything harder than what they, what they intended to pull out, which is, white versions of or silver versions of some of the enemies. But then I didn't think they were going to pull out like Lionels and crap like that. I'm actually really surprised about that. And then fighting Ganon was very different from what I was anticipating. What I mean by like better than Breath of the Wild, I think Breath of the Wild had it like kind of like weird, where it was just like, oh well, you had all the divine beasts already killing his health. This one you didn't have any of that, which is nice. So you had to actually fight and actually know how to fight hand in hand. Like if you
That I
weren't
thought
prepared
was
for it,
weird.
it was really slow. It was very slow. And you had to get parry just right every single time, blocking and figuring out parry. Now I did try some of the
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to add to that before we get off that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tried some of the little hacks that some people have tried, like the the stupid arches and blocking Ganon and stuff. Which
tried to tease them in there.
Which that worked just fine actually. It worked better than I anticipated. But it wasn't fun for me. I was like, this sucks. Like I wanted him to attack me.
So this is my issue with that ending. And not that on its own it was bad. Like honestly, I think the structure was fine. I always like one-on-one duels. My issue is the majority of the game really is not trying to encourage you to do a lot of heavy combat, like that kind of combat. Like it's very much, hey, use your magic arm to make all these crazy contraptions to break the game pretty much and do whatever you want. That's how the game has taught you to tackle every encounter you've come across. And then you get to Ganon, and like, no, don't do any of that stuff. You have to know how to use a sword. And if you haven't taken the time to like go find Lionels out in the woods and really learn how to parry and how to attack well, you're gonna be, I think, very sorely introduced to Ganon when you have your first few fights with him. Like, it's a challenge. I think good to get through it, but
I never defeated a Lionel, and I beat Ganon. I only died to him once, I think, maybe twice.
I died like 3 times.
I think it was 2 or 3 times. You kept dying because of the blight. Because you didn't bring any blight stuff with you, which come on,
fair enough.
Big mistake, basically. Yeah, like just make a bunch of crap out of the the dark, whatever. Just eat it and call it a day, or just get.
I just thought it was odd. And I know you can technically cheese it with your Ultra Hand stuff, but that's clearly not what they wanted you to do there. They wanted you to have the epic sword battle, which was like 3 parts you had to get through.
3 parts, and the third part, that's where you needed the blight stuff the most, because you literally needed gloom resistance for.
Do me a favor, gamer. Because your mic's a little poppy. Just wherever your
it's got some crackle to
wherever your input is. Just see if you, I don't know. I don't want to.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think although I don't think it was terrible, it wasn't the hardest thing in the world. You can certainly learn how that battle works, but it just felt odd. And I mean, I kind of expected that to a certain extent. Like I knew they were going to have you do a one-on-one battle with Ganon somehow, so it's not like they were pulling it completely out of left field, but it just felt like an odd juxtaposition to the rest of the game. Like, yes, the combat's been in there the entire time, and there are times that the game has encouraged you to do it more than others, but really the game has taught you how to use Ultra Hand to create crazy stuff, or to fuse a bunch of crazy stuff to your sword or bow to kind of get through encounters. And this game really this ending kind of pulled back on that a lot, which is fine, just felt a little weird to me. But I mean, I did like the structure of the encounter. I mean, I really just like this game had like a real antagonist. So I think Ganon, the way they kind of used him at the end, I think was done well.
No, I think he felt a little bit more like menacing, which is nice. It's just when you fight him at the end after he does the unthinkable, and I thought that was fun. It wasn't anything different though. When he turns into the dragon, the dark dragon, and that was very fascinating how they did that. And I was like, they really went that route. There's no pig Ganon anywhere. What happened here? Now it's Dragon Ganon. And it's like, I guess so. And I was like, all right, I guess that's cool. It was fun.
I thought it looked cool. Like we've seen a lot of pig Ganon before, so I think seeing the Eternal Dragon Ganon was neat. It was kind of telegraphed, just because if you did all the tiers, that's what happened to Zelda, and just it seemed like an obvious way to go with it. I am curious, at least the way I felt like it played. It was another kind of segment where you couldn't really lose, or it was really hard to lose. Like I guess technically you could die.
You let yourself
but it was
keep
kind of
like
or
something.
It was kind of like the big pig beast in Breath of the Wild, where it makes you feel like you're fighting them, but you're not really fighting them. You're just kind of going through the motions at that point for the big epic scene, which is fine, but I didn't really feel overly satisfied when I stabbed him in the head at the end. Because I felt like the game just was already kind of over, or kind of it would beat itself prior to
Yeah.
that, which it was spectacle over anything else.
Yeah, it was very Shadow of the Colossus style, and I thought that was neat for what it was. Like, obviously, I don't know how in the hell Chaz did it, but you obviously need gloom resistance in order to step on the guy, because if you step on him, you literally like get gloom. Like,
I had no
hardcore.
gloom resistance. I was a man.
I'm like, that is awful. My hearts were dropping. I was like, oh man, this is really. I had to like glide the entire time trying to like.
That's
make
what I
sure
did. I had
that-
stored up so many bombs that I pretty much bomb arrowed him 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I
You-
ended up just going with the.
You
I just, like,
Oppenheimer
slammed him.
Oppenheimered him.
Yeah. But yeah, you're 100% right on that. But I don't, it was okay. I mean, so I'm assuming we all got the same ending at this point.
Mhm.
So
Think
I'm
so.
not sure, because if you did enough of it, you pretty much get the, I don't know, I guess her turning back or whatever. Which I thought.
I don't think they had different endings, did they?
And then this, I know the last one did, but I don't know about this one.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong. I thought they all ended the same way. She turns back, you catch her as
Yeah.
she's falling. I don't know how you
Yeah.
don't both die at the end, but
Beats me. Beats the heck me. I thought it was harder getting to Ganon. That was rough. Like, getting through the core, like of Gloom, that thing sucked.
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't.
they took away everything from you. Like all of your avatars, they strip it completely. I'm like, oh no. And you start relying on, especially in the last one, where you start, using the robot to kind of walk on the gloom. You don't even have that anymore, and everything's after.
I kind of
So
like
I
the.
thought it was a lot harder.
I kind of like the big battle before the last one, the big wave oriented thing where you were taking on.
the four waves.
Yeah, I kind of like those.
Yeah. It was interesting. I just let the robots do all the work.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
I just like all I do is just run around, and then they did everything for me. I'm like, oh, cool.
I feel like I
pretty
just kept
good.
running so they couldn't touch me, and then every now and then I would shoot, I can't remember the characters' names. Who's the electric lady? I would just
I don't remember either. The Gerudo.
shoot the lightning bolt.
I know I'm gonna sound like impossible to please because I am. I mean, Breath of the Wild. I remember I complained about the ending because you can basically skip the entire last dungeon and go straight to the fight. So this game doesn't really let you do that. They force you to go
they
through
do.
the big tunnel thing, but I didn't like that either. Maybe it's 'cause I just didn't like the tunnel. Like, it felt super linear and kind of boring. It was just weird little combat encounter after combat encounter. It once again did not feel like a final dungeon. It just felt like a little bit of a slog or onslaught through, all these enemies, which in all the prior games, I mean, not all, I mean, Breath of the Wild being the exception, but most prior Zelda games, the final dungeon is a dungeon. Like, you have Ganondorf at the end you gotta fight, but there's still, like, dungeony things to do in it. So, I don't know. And I think we've already had this conversation, but I still feel like the dungeons just are lacking in this game. They're not the worst, but they're not the best by any means. I do want to get your opinion, Metal, in particular, on the last secret dungeon before you get to the end game.
You want my
essentially.
opinion? You want his?
Okay, Chaz, fine. You can talk on your own
No, I'm
podcast.
kidding.
Go ahead.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I know because he's got a pretty negative opinion on it because I think he was pretty drowned out by the time we got there. I do want to know what you think too, Chaz. But
About
Metal
the
goes
last dungeon.
Yeah.
I gotta remember that was underground, right? That was in the.
first. Yes.
That was
Yeah. Okay.
I
I feel like I've forgotten so much already.
yeah, that was the one in the depths.
Yeah.
Oh man, like
I didn't really like the last.
okay, but
I didn't like the last fight of it. The little weird mech fight.
The box, the
Actually-
arms game at the end.
I found it to be kind of fun, but because you kind of figure it out after the first like couple of times.
Do me a
it
favor,
became
gamer.
dumb easy.
Move the
Yeah.
mic a little closer.
Big
Yeah,
mic?
you're like not even in the yellow. So
Oh well, okay.
there you go.
Cool.
That sounds better.
Okay. Well, anyway, so like, yeah, I felt that the whole that fifth dungeon, they make you go through so much to
Mhm.
get there. I felt like getting to the dungeon was a lot more interesting because you had to kind of go through the jungle up to the sky just to go all the way down to the depths.
I thought the
Which
depths
I thought that was cool.
boring. My
But the-
like, or go ahead, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, but once you get there, it's kind of like, what was the point of getting all that stuff? You're in the depths. It's like, okay, cool, that's great, thanks. So it wasn't very like, it was okay. It wasn't anything special.
My thoughts.
I wasn't really intrigued by it.
My opinion
It
on the depths in general, I feel like was drastically different than when we first encountered it and started searching around. Like, I started out enjoying it and thinking it was cool, but after like thinking on it and actually really playing the game, I'm like, did it really introduce anything super crazy? Like, it was a cool niche thing at first, but I don't know. In the end, I'm just like, I thought the depths was kind of boring.
So it's, I think, a bigger issue with this game where there's just so much of everything that even the good ideas, I think, kind of get drowned out because there's just so much repetition of an idea. Like, the depths was cool. Like, when I first stumbled across
it's amazing at
the first time
yeah.
you stumble is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, there is stuff to do in the depths. There's the whole Yiga clan storyline. There's little strongholds in there. There is stuff to do, but a lot of it is, once you've done that one instance of it, you just do that same thing 30 more times. So the initial ideas are fun. They wear thin really quick. I think this game is very much a game that you shouldn't try to 100%. Like, I went through and I cleared out all the depths. Like, I mapped the whole thing, did all the routes, and I don't feel any better for it. Like, this is a game I think you should just take it very much at your leisure, enjoy bits and pieces of it, and never feel pressured to do too much, which I know is hard in this game because it wants to pull you in so many directions, but you kind of have to know when to restrain yourself. Otherwise, I know you have this issue, gamer. You get to that fatigue moment where you have tried to do everything the game has wanted you to do, and you're like, I'm just ready for this game to end. And then you get to the end, and I think then you're so fatigued, I think things can feel a little underwhelming just because you've either built up too much hype or you're ready to be done. Even if the game was really good at the ending, you would just feel like it's going to fall a little flat just because you're ready for it to be over. So I know I fell into that category a few times.
See how Gamer approached Breath of the Wild. I think what he did with that game makes far more sense with this game, where he played the game, initially fell off, or was saving the ending for like another time and came back to it later and finished it. I feel like this game, in terms of like what you were saying about a lot of the repetition and like in some of the gameplay and some of the other things you're doing, I feel like this game I could very easily see somebody going playing for 15-20 hours then being like, if you're trying to do everything, is what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever come back to it though. I think like if I stopped playing before finishing it and did something else, I think then I'd probably take time to really take stock of what I played in Zelda and probably feel like, well, I think I did enough. Because honestly, once you've done a handful of the examples of different things, you've done a dungeon, quote unquote, you've done the depths, you've done a tower, you've done the whole game. Like, you've done all the type of content the game has. And if that ever, I think, clicks and you realize that, there's no reason to really come back unless you just really want to see the end of the game, which of course, if you're a Zelda fan, sure. But honestly, if that's the case, you're going to plow through it the first playthrough anyway.
I was going to say, like, honestly, Zelda game is going to end the way it can only really end one way. So it's like, I don't want to say you don't need the ending for this game, but you don't need the ending for this game.
I don't think that's, I'll tell you, out of several Zelda games, this one has had one of the better narratives. And I felt good with the way the narrative wrapped up, and I'm glad I got to see the ending. Like, honestly, my favorite part about this game was its narrative.
I actually like the tears and stuff, the way they approach the tears and doing the cutscenes and flashbacks.
Yeah, and the ending of the game, I think, has a lot of narrative heft to it. Like, if you don't finish the ending, there's a lot of question marks kind of left up there. I mean, you could, of course, try to fill in the blanks on your own with assumptions, but no, I think it's worth finishing the game from a narrative standpoint. I don't think it's worth finishing the game for a completionist standpoint, though. I do want to say about that 5th or whatever dungeon it was, the secret one. I ended up enjoying it, but I didn't play it as a last dungeon. I think I'd mentioned this. I kind of just stumbled across it like midway through the game. Like, I'm going to see what's up in those lightning clouds. So I just kind of stumbled my way through. I didn't realize I was in a dungeon I was almost at the end of it. Because like the structure was different enough at the beginning that kind of threw me off with going up there, finding that mask thing, having to like fly down to the ground. Like all that felt really cool. I'm like, oh, this is building to something really big. And then at least at first, the whole build the robot thing didn't click to me initially as, oh, this is the same tried and true dungeon format, right? Where you do the same thing 4 times and you're done. And then at the end, I think I realized what I was doing. I felt tricked, but I enjoyed it a lot more, not knowing for when it was a dungeon, just kind of stumbling across it, because the game never told you it was a dungeon until the very end of the game. So it made it feel more special, more unique. And it was kind of funny when I got to the end and they were telling you, oh, go find the final dungeon. And then they realized you didn't, like, oh, never mind. It was the whole ending changed because complete. Of it. Yeah.
It says complete. I think that's a better way to do it. I mean, like I said, it's not terrible. I mean, I think going up and coming back down was really cool. I think that whole entire ordeal, just trying to get everything, and then you had to like, you know, get the mask and then point it in whatever direction. That whole entire thing was actually kind of fun. It's just the dungeon itself is kind of flat.
Yeah. Well, I think saving it at the end and pitching it as the final dungeon, I think is what hurt it. Like, I think on its own, it's fun. If you, I think, stumble across it early enough in the game, I think you can appreciate it on its merits a little bit better. But yeah, when you understand how all the dungeons play out, you're going into this dungeon with that knowledge. Oh, this is the dungeon. I've got to do the 4 checkbox things at the end. I think just initially you're kind of going to be underwhelmed when you get to the dungeony aspect of it. And I think the final battle, although different kind of, it wasn't my favorite battle. It was kind of weird, a little out of place, to be honest, of this big boxing ring in the middle of the depths, but I don't know.
While I have the thought in my head, I think that's why, branching off a little bit, I think back to what you were talking about, the narrative of the game, I think that's why I think I like Breath of the Wild a little bit more than this one, is because while yes, I agree with you, I think the narrative and how the narrative is delivered in this game is better and definitely more appealing, more entertaining. I ultimately felt like the repetition, some of the gameplay elements, I feel like I enjoyed them much more in Breath of the Wild, mainly because, I don't know, like that was the first Zelda game I had ever like really beaten. So for me, I had no like frame of reference as to like the dungeon aspect, which is what you guys and many other people were disappointed about that game for. So I don't know. For me at the time, I thought Breath of the Wild was really good. But again, I didn't have that disappointment of like knowing what a Zelda dungeon was, you know, and all that sorts of stuff. So
yeah, I think the catch is, I think definitely how I felt a lot of Tears of the Kingdom as well. Like, you felt that way in Breath of the Wild because it was the first time you had played a lot of that stuff. It wasn't that it was necessarily better. Like, it's hard for me to really think of many things in Breath of the Wild that's straight up better.
I just don't remember being as bored. It was just the first time you did it. I got bored.
Because it was the first time.
Yeah.
It was the first time you did it. Even though there was a lot of stuff in there, you had probably more patience to do more of the shrines, more of the Korok seeds. As soon as you start Tears of the Kingdom, when you realize it is that exact same stuff, all that, at least for me, all that fatigue from Breath of the Wild, those other 100 shrines I did, I felt like I just did them already. Even though it had been years, for whatever reason, all kind of became flooding back for me. And I'm like, oh, now I'm doing another shrine. Like, I already felt fatigued pretty early on in the game. Like, you know, you have that honeymoon period within a game, first 10 or so hours, even though I am doing the same shrine, same Korok stuff. It's been a while since I played it. It felt fun. I'm in the Zelda hype. But that wears off, and you're like, man, this is just Breath of the Wild 2. Which I'm trying not to make that sound like a terrible thing, but in some ways, that was the biggest negative for me about this game. It was a lot of the same game. And then the stuff they added made the game bigger. I'm hesitant to say it's repetitious.
Better. Like this
one, just added more stuff I already didn't want to do anymore. And I think the other thing, my brain just stopped. Oh no, come back, brain.
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to go on that tangent because I just wanted to throw it in before I forgot talking about the narrative.
It's fine. I don't know. It was a tough one. I definitely felt fatigued going into Tears of the Kingdom when I wish I wouldn't have. It's not a bad game. Here's the other thing I didn't like about it. I still didn't really like Ultra Hand. I don't know. I thought it was fine for certain things, but for me, I feel like it really trivialized a lot of puzzles. And once again, that's why I like a Zelda game. I like a Zelda game for puzzle, narrative, the exploration stuff, although that is very much a key aspect of the Zelda game now. That's not the main reason I play the Zelda game. I have other games I play for the exploration side of things or the sandbox side of things. So for me, it didn't quite tick those boxes the way I would have liked. Some people are going to love this game for the sandbox and Ultra Hand, period. And that's all they want. They're going to go make giant robot monsters with big flaming gonads, and they're going to be super happy. That's not me, unfortunately. Although I like stuff about this game, I can't imagine I'm ever going to come back and play it. I also don't think I'm ever going to come back and play Breath of the Wild either. Like, they're both kind of in this spot where they were fun enough experiences. I enjoyed stuff about them. They're still not my favorite Zelda games, though.
I think Breath of the Wild, to me, this is kind of similar to like the comparison of not exactly, but like The Last of Us versus Part 2. Like, I would much rather go play simply because Part 1 for me was a bit of a shorter it is a lot shorter of an experience, and I don't know, maybe it was a little simpler of a game, and I think that's what I would like about. I don't remember how long Breath of the Wild took to beat.
I think for me, it took me around 30-40 hours.
So about the same as this one, really?
Well, so it depends on how much you do. I think that's the big thing about this game. Like, I didn't play as much Breath of the Wild as I played Tears of the Kingdom. Like, for whatever reason,
I would totally agree with
dug
that.
into
I
Tears
only
of the
played
Kingdom
Breath of the Wild for
more.
maybe 20 hours or something.
Yeah, I basically, in Breath of the Wild, I did one big lap around the map, so I felt like I had seen the whole map. I didn't go into every little nook and cranny. I just did a big lap, and then felt like I'd done all the dungeons, and then went for Ganon.
That's exactly
and that
what
took
I
me a
did.
good 30 to 40 hours, and it still left some mystery there, but I felt satisfied. I didn't do that in Tears of the Kingdom. I did a lot. Still didn't do everything, but like the depths, I told you, I mapped out. I did a lot more exploration on the top. I messed around with the systems a lot more. I spent not quite 100 hours. I think I'm upwards of 90 something. So I spent a lot of time in this game, which probably didn't help. As I said, I'm already feeling fatigued. I felt fatigued at like hour 30 on this game, but I kept kind of going. There's just that moment though when you're playing this game when you realize you're not going to see anything new. And I think it's just up to when you get that feeling. Is it going to be an hour 10, hour 30, hour 60? But there's a point where you're like, yep, this game's not going to offer me anything more than what I've already seen. And then I think you just got to beat the game. If you try to complete this game to 100%, I think that's going to wear it down more than it's going to do anything favorable towards it. So I said, I think that's what happened to you, Gamer. I could tell just in our conversations, you leading up to it, you were just ready for it to be over. I think maybe if you had skipped out on a little more of the exploration and just kind of hit some of the big points and then moved your way to Ganon a little bit quicker, you probably would have had a better experience, but it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, by no means was this game like awful. This game was actually, in my opinion, it was obviously fantastic. If it wasn't, overall, it was a great game to play. I mean, this is just for everyone to know. We're bashing on it like hell, but not in a bad way. Like, we're just being the way we are, just kind of just poking at it.
Hey, can I just real quick throw in though? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say like.
No, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say something I am kind of slowly getting annoyed by, but like Zelda's fan base is incredibly annoying. I think. Like, I think they're great games.
Every fan base is incredibly annoying.
Like the fervor around Zelda games is like I just like on a podcast I listened to recently from IGN. Like, one of the guys was talking about how this is the best game since Breath of the Wild, and it's the best game in the last 10 years. And I was like, come on, man! You have games like Hades, Returnal, God of War. There's like so many Spider-Man. There's so many games where it's like. Really?
But here's the thing. It's subjective. Everything is so subjective about games. And what you like in a game is not going to be what I like in a game. Like, I can really see how people will love this game. And this could be their favorite game. Like, it has, and as Metal was saying, this is a super high quality game. I mean, masterpiece, you can call it if you want. I mean, it has high quality production values. It has a good narrative. Even graphically, although it's on, potato Switch hardware, it still has a nice aesthetic to it. It looks good for what it is. Runs well enough. It's got fun mechanics. It's got a sandbox. And for a lot of people, that's going to do it for them. People love just a good sandbox just to play in. And that's what a game is. It's a place to play. Now, you might play a game differently. Like, I play a Zelda game, not just to play in a sandbox. I want a challenging puzzle kind of scenario. I want to have this and that. So I think a lot of my critique here comes from this isn't what I love in a Zelda game. I'm hesitant to go down that track or direction that a lot of people are going, where it's like, this isn't a Zelda game. I mean, Nintendo can take a franchise
Final
or
Fantasy
IP
is
in
going
whatever
through that
direction
right
they
now.
want. Yeah, and I think that is fair, but I definitely don't think it's fair to say this is not my favorite type of Zelda game. And you get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were people who would love 2D Zelda far more than 3D. Okay, that was kind of one of the first big kind of paradigm shifts. And now this is still 3D, but it's a very different type of 3D. This is a open world explore first. There's a lot of stuff from the traditional Zelda things they pulled away from. It didn't even click to me. They pulled out some big Zelda stuff, like there's no Triforce in this game or the last game. Like there's some big Zelda iconography stuff that's not here. And for me, probably because I grew up with Zelda, that means a little more to me. But for a new generation who doesn't care, they didn't play Ocarina. They're 13 right now. Their Breath of the Wild was their first Zelda game. Then this probably feels like the greatest thing, right? It's an expansion of what they did. It's got fun mechanics. So I'm very hesitant to, negate anybody's opinion about this being the best game for them ever. But that's once again very subjective, and you could argue that about just about any big game that has high quality.
Maybe that's the problem with, like, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm being rational, but it's like, I don't know if I could just definitively say though that like this game is the best game I've played in the last 50 years. It's like, I would have to, like, to me that's such a hard thing to say, because it's like, again, there's a whole list of games that I could say I love, like Hades, there's freaking Returnal I loved, there's like
Elden Ring.
No.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, but just like putting a blanket statement when you're just like, oh, this is the best game I've played the last 10 years. It's like,
and to be fair,
did you think about
right.
what games have come out the last 10 years? It's like, there's a lot
Zelda
of good
fans
stuff.
come at something with a lot of hype, and we're still in the honeymoon period for a lot of people. They've got their blinders up. Like, I've definitely seen the interviews where people are praising everything about this game, and I'm like, yeah, but what about this? Like, there are arguments for all of it. And I think over time, there will be a sheen that wears off. You've seen it for Breath of the Wild. There's still plenty of people who reserve that Breath of the Wild is their favorite Zelda game, or was up until Tears of the Kingdom. But I think that opinion has definitely dwindled over years. I see a far more a lot of comments saying kind of what we're saying. It's a fun game. It's not the most fun Zelda game, right? It's missing these Zelda components. And they're starting to kind of nitpick or critique those elements of it, I think, more. I think you're going to see that with Tears of the Kingdom, too. Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, ultimately, I find myself to be a part of the Zelda-loving community. I just mean, like, throwing out blanket statements like that to me is just, it's kind of odd. It's that, like, fanboyish, like I love Zelda. Like, I'm someone who's recently, the last handful of years, has just started playing them. Like, I love them. I'm just saying, like, but I mean, saying stuff like that, it's like, think about it. Just think about it. I don't know, before you say, this is the best thing. I don't know.
I know for sure I'm not jumping back into this one for a long time. I played it.
I probably never will.
Recently, and I was just not interested. After I jumped back in after my updates happened, and now my
you couldn't use your infinite frozen meat money glitch.
No, my frozen meat money glitch is done forever. I got
got
enough money to kind of suffice, so it's cool. But yeah, after everything, I'm done. Like, I was just not interested. I was like, you know what? I'm putting it away. Instead, I started turning on Animal Crossing, and I was like, no, this is bad. And I put that game away too. So I'm looking at Xenoblade Chronicles, if anything.
Oh no.
No, Final Fantasy.
I know. That's why I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go towards Final Fantasy.
So one kind of big question, then to kind of start wrapping up the conversation. I think we all kind of have our opinion now on this game, but Nintendo has come out and basically said,
this is the direction.
Yeah, the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom gameplay style is what we're going with. Like, and it's been a huge moneymaker. Like, these games have sold more Zelda, I think, in the Zelda franchise than just about any of the other ones. And part of that's because the Switch install base is huge. But how do we feel about that? Like, are we happy with that direction? I mean, what does that mean? Is it just going to be open world, but maybe it will pull back on some stuff like the scale, or is it just going to get bigger?
It
like,
just
what do you guys want to see in the next Zelda?
It means in the next Zelda game, underneath the caves, there's going to be a third underneath layer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
You'll get into Zelda hell if you go deep enough.
Is Zelda Dante?
The rings of Zelda hell.
That would be interesting. That'd be more interesting than I don't want. I take that back. Never mind.
You're giving Ayuma some ideas.
It's gonna be a mountain called the Eye of Ganon.
The brown
Really
eye,
jump into
brown
it.
eye of Ganon.
The Brown Eye of Ganon.
Oh no.
I guarantee you
It's like a
that's a fanfic somewhere. I guarantee you.
Oh God.
So do either of you want it to stay open world, or do you want to pull back from open world completely?
I would be.
I mean, it's a component that's fine, but it's just it shouldn't be main canon.
I would be interested in a 2D. Like, go make a 2D game before you hit on the next 3D one. I don't know.
I would like to see them go back a little bit and just do a 2D game for a little bit.
Actually, I just thought about it. There are 2 new Zelda games that have just come to Switch. They're on the
Oracle of Ages and Seasons, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't go back into that. Last time I went to, I beat those games so hard. I told you about that story, right, guys? Like I beat Ages, and then I went to Seasons, and then I went to Seasons, and I went back to beat Ages.
The story about you beating hard.
I beat that game. I beat those games twice. So it's really bad. And if you've anybody ever played, the originals, you need a code to get from one game to another.
Really?
In order for it to kind of save your
Carry
stuff.
over, yeah.
Yeah, so it could carry over, and
So
it's
are
fun.
those games like Pokemon where one is styled? They're both the same game, or are they both different games?
They're both
different.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
They're different. Like,
there's similarities to them, but there's differences.
Like I was
And they're
thinking
different
one was
games.
like blue and red, where like they're the same game, but they have subtle differences.
This one,
they're
they
bigger.
both had different stories. They both just tied into each other. One was using a season rod, while the other one was using a harp, going through time. So they're both completely different games.
Would you say
But
those
they
are
both tie into each other because it's not the same type of Ganon that you would get in the other games. And if you've ever fully beaten a game, you will see it. It just doesn't.
So do you have
It's
to
just
beat
like
you have to beat both games to get the full?
to get the full ending. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, you have to.
Which
yeah,
one
'cause you're gonna
technically
be-
comes first then?
It
I
doesn't
don't think
matter.
it really matters. I think technically I want to say Ages comes
Ages,
first,
and
but I
then-
could be
yeah.
wrong.
I would say that too, but then when after playing both of them, it didn't really matter
It doesn't matter.
You both play them and they both come out kind of the same.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No.
I don't know. I will just say, kind of wrapping out my opinion on where it should go. I don't mind the open world. I just like to see it scale down, like
Yeah.
almost more like a hub-based kind of world. Like I like a little bit of exploration in there, like Twilight Princess, where you got to go around and explore Hyrule feel, and you got a little bit like a large-scale feel without being enormous. So I'd like to see them pull back something maybe half the size of Breath of the Wild, and then just curate things a lot
I agree.
more. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm basically asking for a more traditional Zelda with a little bit of open world, as opposed to all open world, a little bit of traditional Zelda.
Just curious,
agree.
without much reflection, where would you guys say this ranks in your favorite Zelda games?
Ooh.
It's mid tier for me somewhere.
Yeah.
It's right next to Breath of the Wild. I still am not sure if I'd put this above or below Breath of the Wild. They're really just kind of neck and neck for various reasons. I think I still like Skyward Sword best. I know I'm gonna be in the wrong camp, but I like Skyward Sword. Twilight Princess I like a lot. Majora's, Ocarina, like
Same
those
as-
4 are probably sitting high for me.
I think this is like my
Um,
third or fourth beaten Zelda game, so it's not like I have a heck of a whole lot to.
You got a lot to play.
There's a bunch of them.
I would say this is probably. So I would say it's Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. Then I would probably say this one, and then I would maybe say Link's Awakening, the remake I played. That's what I
I
played so
played
far.
that. I heard it was.
It was alright. It was pretty good.
I heard it was pretty good.
I liked
'Cause I
it.
played the
Yeah.
original twice, obviously.
I need
so-
to finish Wind Waker finally. Never done that.
Yeah, I'd probably rank this like 5th in my list if I was being
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah.
And maybe I could bring it up a level. It depends on a few things, but yeah, it's just really kind of mid for me.
What's your guys'?
Yeah,
I'd be
mine,
curious of your top 3. What's your top 3? I know Skyward's your 1, right? Phoenix?
Skyward's 1.
Twilight, is that up there? I don't know.
Twilight, I really like Twilight.
Oh, I forgot
it's 2
about
or 3 for
Ocarina
me.
or something. One of the old school ones. I was forgetting about the old school.
See, the thing about Ocarina, and even Majora's to a certain extent, although I loved Ocarina, it has been outclassed in every way by, like, Twilight Princess is like a modern day Ocarina almost, at least as far as like what it did.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's big for like the innovation that it brought to the table, but comparatively now, besides nostalgia, that's not the main game you'd want to go back and play.
Yeah, Ocarina was really big. Like, kind of, if I was to play it again, I'm gonna probably say that the fields are empty as heck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing in the field. Like, it's empty as heck. But the good thing about it is that there's a lot of things to do and there's a lot of dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh crap, I gotta go through how many dungeons? You know, like there's like at least like 10 dungeons in that game, I think. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. There's like 10 dungeons. Or
There's
11
much.
if you, 11 if you include Hyrule Castle. So I mean, it's pretty well done.
I've
but-
been wanting to play Ocarina and beat it. I've never done that, but I already know I would need walkthrough by my
You
side.
don't need a walkthrough.
Yeah,
Get outta
It's
here.
not that hard. I
I
mean-
it's not that hard.
Ocarina doesn't need a walkthrough. Majora's arguably could. Majora's gets hard. The time mechanics get really convoluted if you're not careful. But
The time
I don't
mechanics are
know.
good.
It's hard to rank them all. I mean, maybe that could be another Zelda
I can
combo
do-
we have at some point. Try to rank our Zelda games because there's so many of them. There are some that I haven't played either. So I'll have some gaps in my list. But this is not in my top 3. Tears of the Kingdom. It's probably
Yeah.
4 or 5.
One you guys don't talk about much.
I think
is,
the problem is I wish if it wasn't a Zelda game, I know I said I wasn't going to go down this route, but it would be higher on a list of like open world exploration games. Maybe I'll put it like 2 or 3 in that, but in the Zelda list, it drops way down.
Now I was just gonna say, Link to the Past is the one I don't think you guys. I don't even know if you guys like that one or not. I know that's one of the more
I love
popular
the Link
ones.
to the Past. That game
I like
is
A Link to
great.
the Past. I like A Link Between Worlds better,
Mm,
Yeah,
which is
It did-
basically
it did-
a
it-
pseudo
it
sequel.
did- Yeah, it kind of made the other one kind of like
obsolete,
know.
kind of.
A little bit.
bit. I mean,
yes and
if it
no.
was- yeah, if I was to play that first and then play the other one second, I'd be like, yo, I'm super satisfied right now. Like, that's just kind of one of those games. We're not gonna throw Zelda 2 in there. at all.
So I was gonna say Zelda 2 is your favorite.
No. No one talks about Zelda 2.
Wand of Gamelon, that's the best one.
Oh boy. Now we're just getting goofy here.
All right, so I don't know. Shoosh, what do we have? Anything else before we close up our thoughts on Zelda talk?
No, I think we've said it all. At least what we can now.
Cool. Well, there you go. That wraps it up. That's last time you'll be hearing about Tears of the Kingdom until Phoenix is right. Until we do some sort of ranking or tier list or something for Zelda games. So I don't know. What do you guys got going on? I guess let me switch us over. I guess this is as good a time as any. I just want to say sorry for not streaming as much, but these guys have kind of motivated me to kind of lean more into some of the anime stuff, especially with me wanting to touch on DBZ. So like that's why I've been a little bit inactive. Been focusing on Goku over here. Although I am going to finish Final Fantasy 16. Maybe this weekend I might play a little bit. Let myself play a little bit. I don't know.
I gotta start that.
So what else
Another
do you
big game.
What else do you guys got going on? I know Phoenix was saying what this next month's going to be kind of hectic for you. So we'll see if
Yeah,
you
my
can
job
join
picks
us.
up a
If
lot
not,
in August, so I'll be busy from that. Probably not a whole lot of gaming. I'll probably dabble in some Diablo here or there, but nothing too new or exciting. Starfield is probably the next big thing that comes out. That's September, isn't it?
I got 2 weeks off in September.
So,
My controller,
yeah.
my controller comes in
Oh,
tomorrow.
your Spider-Man controller?
No, it's
Oh, no, your
Starfield.
Starfield controller.
Yeah. Because you couldn't get me one.
I didn't want to get you one.
No.
It was mine. I bought it.
But I don't know. I guess other ideas for things we got going on. I broached the idea with Phoenix. I know Spider-Man. What is it? Oh, whatever the newest Spider-Man movie comes out, that's coming to streaming services. So I don't know. Maybe if Phoenix has time, we can try and squeak in a video at some point. Gosh, anything else? I know Gamer. He's still got a Final Fantasy 16 on the back burner. Whenever he can get to it, we'll start talking about that. But I don't know. I can tell these guys are ready to head out. So I don't know. You guys got anything to say before we go? This is actually
No,
a shorter
I'm good, guys.
episode, under an hour and a half.
The whole thing was a speed run. Haha.
Tee-hee.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that wraps up this week's ChazmaN podcast. This is number 40, I think, at this point. So, I don't know. Love you guys. We can't wait to see you. Adios.